in relation to question number 7, I believe. Yes. The question, just so everyone can remember, is can the Honorable Minister update the House on the building and fit out costs to date for the Ponciana Mental Health Facility? Members should have a written copy of the answer as well as the statement which followed. And on that basis, I will allow supplementaries. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister in her statement mentioned the elephant in the room, which is who has responsibility to the overall oversight and the entire project. Mr. Speaker, in that context, as a former Minister of Works and who had responsibility for the Major Projects Office, in these circumstances, and as my memory serves me, there were several options that happened. If the project was big enough, the ministry that had responsibility for the project would second a project manager into their ministry. Otherwise, a project manager at the Major Projects Office would be appointed to the project to work for the ministry. My question, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, can the Minister say if a project manager has ever been appointed to this project on behalf of the ministry?
The Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, I can advise that that project manager was appointed through the project management team. At no point did the Ministry of Health, which would have been before my time, had actually hired a project manager for this team, only because this project started, this predates myself.
For the supplementaries, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So there is a project manager, but who is the project manager reporting to? Who has responsibility for the project ultimately that the project manager would report to on the project?
The Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, from what I am made to understand is that this project manager would update the chief officer. Now, as time came about and understanding that this administration placed a heavy influence on mental health and actually getting this facility open, it was only as we got into and got out of opening that the ministry was able then to focus our attention on this facility, Mr. Speaker. Did we actually ramp up asking for updates? I've received an email this morning, including my chief officer around 1:48 this morning, containing information that was asked of by my ministry's chief officer and myself, that from just looking at it goes back from as far as 2016 to today. I'm not able to go into the full details of that as yet because I've received that just this morning, which is something I've been asking for 3.5 years to make it all make sense. I am more than able to give a report to the public once that information that was received at 1:46 a.m. this morning is processed, because I have to go through with my ministerial team on that to make sure everything contained therein makes sense.
Are there any further supplementaries? The Honourable Member for Georgetown East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you to the Minister. Can the Minister tell us, who held the budget, or which minister had the budget for this project?
The Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, the budget is held from the ministry and we go back for funding, but again, this is a continuation of the hand that I was dealt with. So that continued.
Any further supplementaries? The Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the minister confirm if she has sufficient funding in place to complete this project? If your ministry has sufficient funding to complete this project at this time?
The Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, through you, based on funding for this project, it looks as though every time there's an inspection, there's something else that is needed, and only at such times within the budget allocated, which we know is usually always short, we will come back to my colleagues or reallocate funding as needs be. But to specifically answer, this all hinges on the ongoing inspections that is happening, as stated in my statement earlier.
Any further supplementaries? The Honourable Member for Cayman Brack West and Little Cayman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the minister, if I understood what you just said, the project manager sent you answers at 1:38 in the morning. 1:46 in the morning. And the answers were for 3.5 years of work.
Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, through you, for full clarity, it is a breakdown, a chronological breakdown from 2016 to the end that I have to go through because a lot of this predates myself. But there are key information from just grazing over it that I've been asking for, just for clarity, to see why there have been so much delays is contained in that. So I have to sit down with the ministry team now to actually process all of that for it to make sense. I hope that helps.
The Honourable Member for Cayman Brack West and Little Cayman.
It helps a little bit. You're holding the budget for it, and the person who is the project manager reports to you. And if what I'm understanding is they don't report to you in a timely manner. So I don't understand how they would continue to get funding if they don't report.
The Honourable Minister to answer.
Mr. Chair, through you, accountability has been a huge topic. And to be honest, I can only trust when I get reports back and I report to the public. That is something that I have continued to do. What we need to make clear and understand, even though the funding and budget is the responsibility of the minister, we can only hope that the expertise and a timely turnover of the tasking, the operational arm, is done in a timely manner. And that is what complicates the role of a minister. We don't have control of operational arms and holding the operational arm accountable, which complicates things. We're in this role, we have this constitutional responsibility, and the public is holding us responsible for deliverables. We can only work cohesively with the civil service arm in hoping that they can bring out our broad outcomes in a timely manner.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not to drag this on, we are here on this side, we're drowning in search of answers because the public is asking us. The public wants to know why it has taken so long and who's responsible. My question to the minister now is that, Minister, what would normally happen is that the chief officer of the ministry responsible for the project, along with the project manager overseeing the project, and having multiple subcontractors or contractors on one side is not unusual. That happens at NHDT, it happens all over the place. But the project manager, the overall project manager, would normally have the responsibility to update the chief officer and the minister on a regular basis. Can the minister say whether or not this happened or did not happen?
The Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, through you, the timeliness and response time have been delayed at times, and just getting information has proven challenging. We have gotten more support now that obviously the pressure is on, and It has really gone on just too long. To say that that communication and response have not improved, it would be an unfair statement to make. But in the earlier days of this, understanding that the first half of this administration was inundated with just grappling at trying to get our country back open. Technically, we have had 1 year to look at other things. So to answer it directly, communication has improved, and I will hope and pray that that will continue and we can get a delivery date shorter or sooner than expected.
I'll allow 2 more supplementaries,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
including this one.
I thank the Honourable Minister for her candidness and for her willingness to answer the questions. The Honourable Minister said that she's now getting the kind of response that she needs. So can we be satisfied on this side? Can I ask the Minister that she now feels confident that she has a grasp and is getting the response she needs to see this through to the end as soon as possible?
Honourable Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, through you, I give this House and this entire country my word that I am comfortable, that I will, and I'm getting the response that I'm satisfied now at this juncture to be able to at least deliver a certificate of occupancy date.
Any further supplementaries? Madam Clerk, next question.
The elected member for Newlands to ask the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Question number 8.
As I indicated earlier, we have apologies for absence from the Honourable Member from Newlands. But in fairness to the Minister, I should indicate that the Minister has indicated by submitting a written answer her readiness to answer the following question, number 8. Can the Honourable Minister provide an update on the progress of the draft anti-sexual harassment bill in light of the passage of 5 months from the last reported consideration by caucus? But as far as I have been apprised, there is no member who has been deputed to ask the question. So, Madam Clerk, we can go on to the next question.
The elected member for Newlands.
Madam Clerk, the Minister is indicating she wants to say something.
Mr. Speaker, just for the listening public as well, just be guided by you. I know the process, and as the member isn't here and I've prepared an answer, I'd be happy to state it on the floor if, well, I see the member's gotten away from his seat. We were speaking across the aisle earlier. Peter.
I'm sorry, Minister, I haven't understood what you're saying.
It's okay, Mr. Speaker. I will submit the answer in writing, as you previously indicated.
Thank you.
The elected member for Newlands to ask the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Question number 9.
Well, members, this is, as you would expect, a similar situation. But as I say, because I know it is often represented that ministers aren't ready to answer questions, not just this term, but ever since, as they say. So when a minister is ready to answer questions, I think they should have the credit The question is number 9. It's, can the Honorable Minister say whether the government has made it a priority to consider the critically important draft national climate change policy with a view to its formal adoption to protect the social, economic, and environmental future of this country? Again, the answer has been submitted in writing, but no member of this House has been deputed to ask it, so we'll have to move on to the next question.
The elected member for Newlands to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development. Question number 10.
Again, the same situation. The answer to the question has been submitted in writing, but no member of this House has been deputed to ask it. But for the record, I'll read the question. Number 10, can the Honourable Minister say what has happened with the National Housing Task Force report that was considered and adopted by Cabinet in 2023, and why no strategic actions have been taken to address the housing crisis in the country other than the existing National Housing Development Trust functions, which are inadequate? That brings us to the end of question time. Statements.
Statements by Honourable Ministers and Members of the Cabinet.
I have, as I indicated, a number of statements. The first is from the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, it is indeed with great pleasure that I announce today that the government has approved a 5% COLA increase for the civil service, which will take effect on the 1st day of January 2025. Okay. The government took this decision, Mr. Speaker, to address the widening gap between the civil service salaries and the rate of inflation in the Cayman Islands. Additionally, the government is cognizant that the civil service salaries require an uplift to ensure that they remain competitive in both the local and global talent market. Hence, this increase duly serves to bolster the civil service overall compensation package. As you're aware, and honourable members, Mr. Speaker, civil servants work tirelessly to deliver government services to the public. Each day, they ensure the smooth and effective running of their respective entities. The government relies on them to fulfill policy objectives and mandates for the betterment of these beloved islands that we are proud to call our home. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that the government ensures that civil servants are not at a disadvantage in terms of their salaries and that they can live comfortably in the same community they serve. In addition to the 5% COLA adjustment, in the coming months, the government, along with the senior leadership in the civil service, will be reviewing additional pay strategies to address the salaries of those civil servants on the 3 lowest pay grades, namely grades R, Q, and P. The aim of this future project, Mr. Speaker, is to uplift those pay grades so that the minimum pay that any civil servant can receive will be $3,000 a month. A further announcement will follow once the review is complete, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to sincerely thank the members of my government for their unanimous support of this initiative, as well as the Deputy Governor and the team in the portfolio of the Civil Service for undertaking the work necessary to bring the proposal forward. Together, we have worked to address this important matter so that our hard-working and invaluable civil servants are appropriately compensated for making the lives they serve better each day. And I thank the opposition in anticipation that knowing their performance, Mr. Speaker, having served with them before, that they would be hard-pressed not to agree, and I'm sure that they will. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Premier. I also have a statement dealing with supplementary fundings under Section 11.5 of the Public Management and Finance Act to be made by the Honorable Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to make a statement as to the circumstances and reasons why I, as Minister for Investment, Innovation, and Social Development, had to request an increase in expenditure in the 2024 budget under Section 11.5 of the Public Management and Finance Act. Mr. Speaker, TP 60, Housing Repairs Assistance, provides for housing repair assistance to Caymanians who are either older persons or persons with a disability or who have children in need of care as per Section 19 of the Children Act that own and or occupy their residential property and have been assessed as financially indigent. There was and is an urgent need to increase the appropriation in the 2024 financial year, as the ministry has already exhausted the allocation of $375,000 as a result of housing repair projects. Mr. Speaker, there are still well over 50 pre-existing cases on the ministry's waiting list that are in desperate need of repair. I'm most grateful for my colleagues' full support in caucus and cabinet to approve this supplementary funding. The cases are real, they are urgent. I have, in many cases, personally been in some of these houses, not just in my constituency. And they truly cannot be afforded by the vulnerable Caymanian homeowners that reside there. It should also be recognized that deterioration continues weekly, if not daily, during the rainy season and in a very active hurricane season. Mr. Speaker, the ministry therefore received an increase in the amount of $1 million to TP 60. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, we have strong indications that the private sector shall observe that as the government has supplemented its own home repair program for the most vulnerable, private donors may in turn contribute to nonprofit organizations that are interested in assisting with home repairs and thereby replenish their respective home repair funding, so that there will be a concerted effort to address these needs. Mr. Speaker, the aforementioned exceptional circumstances transaction, which was approved by Cabinet for the ministry for the period of 2024 fiscal financial period, did not cause any non-compliance with the principles of financial management. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I have a statement from the Minister, Border Control, Labor and Culture regarding supplementary funding for community development initiatives, namely Pirates Week. Is the Minister prepared to? He is.
Boy Scouts are always ready. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to speak to the Cabinet's approval given for supplementary funding of $574,000 under Section 11.5 of the Public Management and Finance Act for the production and execution of Pirates Week 2024. Pirates Week, initiated in 1977, has become a pivotal event of the Cayman Islands cultural and tourism calendar and offers a vibrant celebration of pirate legends and cultural heritage that has historically featured historical reenactments, music, parades, floats, local food, street dances, district celebrations, historical displays, friendly competition, and fireworks. Since 2022, the management of this festival has existed at the core government level, and this year, my team in the Ministry of Border Control, Labor and Culture has the pleasure and responsibility of delivering this important national festival. Despite Pirates Week being an annual event, budget funds were not transferred to the Ministry of Border Control, Labor and Culture. Therefore, members of the team conducted a comprehensive budget exercise and calculated the $574,000 would be necessary to deliver Pirates Week 2024 at a standard that is not only high, but will bring back many of the feelings of nostalgia for Pirates Week gone by. And the budget will cover the following key areas: cultural events, organizing heritage days, cultural demonstrations and historical reenactments that celebrate Caymanian culture and history, and historical exhibitions, 100,000. Entertainment and performances, hiring local and international artists and performers to provide diverse entertainment options, along with firework displays, 100,000. Event planning, vendor, contracting a professional event planner, vendor to pursue seamless execution of the festival, 50,000. Infrastructure needs, setting up stages, sound equipment, lighting, and necessary infrastructure, 150,000. Marketing and merchandising needs, promoting the events locally and internationally to attract tourists and ensure high attendance. Branded collateral, media buy, and production for marketing and merchandise to be sold, 75,000. Committee member honorariums, compensating committee members for the first time and effort in planning and organizing the event, 40,000. There is a built-in contingency of around 12% to buffer any actual costs that do not align with what was budgeted. Ensuring that this national festival is adequately funded and delivered is in alignment with government strategic broad outcome. 5, protect and promote Caymanian culture, heritage, and identity. Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet found it necessary to favorably consider this request for supplementary funding because it agreed that this need facilitated an exceptional circumstance. The ministry responsible for culture did not have funding allocated for this critical national festival after the most recent cabinet reshuffle. And we are aware that under the previous ministry, Pirates Week required at least $300,000 to deliver. In addition to the base expenses, this ministry also did not have the human capital allocated to deliver this event. Therefore, the addition of a sound committee structure, that is a steering committee, to govern strategy and integrated planning committee to action decisions and plan the actual events, and use of an event management vendor to ensure operational delivery have contributed to an increased amount required to deliver this event at the highest level yet. Mr. Speaker, I must put some clarity into where the funding and the heritage, the culture ministry came from in terms of the now Minister of Heritage. And it is to no fault as to why the structure that they had in place, that no funding was transferred over to the Ministry of Heritage. There was no funding. The structure that they had in place before was based mainly on sponsorship and other income sponsored to this event. Hence the reason we decided, and from some of the information that we know, both myself and the Minister of Heritage, especially in the district days, that was really underfunded, and the districts always suffered to try to pull off a good event. And it was almost like persons were just going to the districts for food. So we had to try to up that experience. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, it is evident that this request for supplementary funding was necessary in order to deliver a national festival that not only boosts the economy, but boosts tourism while fostering local pride and community spirit. I thank you. God bless.
Honorable members, the remaining statements submitted have all been withdrawn and to be deferred until the next meeting. I believe that the Honorable Acting Deputy Governor would like to say a few words.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to say a few words in response to the Premier's most welcome announcement of the government support of a cost of living adjustment for the civil service. I rise today on behalf of the Honourable Deputy Governor and indeed the wider civil service to express our profound gratitude to the Premier and all members of the government in announcing a 5% cost of living adjustment, or COLA, which will take effect on the 1st of January 2025. This decision is both timely and necessary, reflecting a deep understanding of the pressures faced by our civil service and the government's commitment to providing targeted support where it's most needed. I also wish to thank the opposition for their constructive engagement on this matter, which demonstrates a shared resolve to uphold the welfare of our public servants and the broader community they serve. Mr. Speaker, as civil servants, we are acutely aware of the economic challenges that confront our workforce. The rising cost of living has a tangible impact on the lives of our civil servants and, by extension, the fabric of our society. By addressing this through the carefully considered COLA adjustment, we affirm our responsibility to ensure that our civil servants can meet these challenges with dignity and security. This adjustment is not merely a response to economic pressures, but a testament to the value we place on our workforce's contribution to the public good. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, it is important to highlight that the ability to implement this adjustment is a direct outcome of our commitment to financial prudence. The rigorous planning and responsible financial stewardship exhibited by our civil service has enabled us to allocate resources where they can most be impactful without compromising our overall budgetary objectives. Such judicious management not only fortifies the foundation of our public service, but also enhances our capability and capacity to sustain and strengthen the delivery of essential services to the Caymanian people and the wider public. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I wish to once again thank the Premier and the government for their steadfast support and express my sincere appreciation for the dedication of our civil servants. Their unwavering commitment to the public service exemplifies the very best of our nation's values. Together, we are building a resilient, world-class civil service that can adapt to evolving needs while steadfastly upholding the principles of accountability, service, and integrity that are essential to our democracy. Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, that brings to a conclusion the end of the business on the order paper for today, but also Before I say that, let me check with the Premier. Sorry, better to be safe than sorry. That brings to end the business of the Parliament, except for Finance Committee, which is slated to commence at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Madam Premier, I invite you to move the adjournment of this Honorable House until the conclusion of Finance Committee. I presume that Finance Committee would report back to the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to, before I move the adjournment, thank you most sincerely for the exercise of your well-known patience and excellence in the execution of the proceedings of Parliament, yet once again for these series of meetings. With that, I gleefully move the adjournment for the suspension of this Honourable House until the return after Finance Committee, which commences at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And out of the abundance of caution and in the midst of my excitement, may I move the motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House until the completion of Finance Committee. Suspension's on my mind today.
Madam Premier, I have some sense of the challenges it takes to sit in that chair. You're completely forgiven. The question is that this House do now adjourn until the conclusion of Finance Committee. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. I believe the ayes have it. The House is accordingly adjourned until the conclusion of Finance Committee.